Welcome back, everyone. If you're just joining us now, the global manhunt for suspect Luca Magnotta is in its second day, and we now know a lot more about the victim, as you heard earlier in the broadcast. But let's revisit once more the early hours of this case. Parliament Hill was rocked by the news on Tuesday. That's when a package containing a human foot arrived at Conservative Party headquarters. NDP MP Yvon Godin spoke to reporters after the discovery. He said the explanation for the unthinkable could be politics, specifically the Conservatives' approach to governing the country. An NDP spokesperson told us yesterday it's not how it sounds. Here's Mr. Godin, you decide.
We have lots of people are unhappy in our country, the way the country is going. This is not the country that we have seen for all our life. As the day I born, it's not the country. Already we go for a better future and everything, and very many people are upset. I hope it's not that. I hope it's not that.
Yesterday, the Sun News Network asked opposition leader Thomas Mulcair if he would stand by his MP's remarks, and here's what he said.
I haven't heard those comments, and I've been asked myself to comment on it. All I'll say is this: it's horrible. And I have a lot of sympathy for the poor employees, the workers who were confronted with that. That's going to be traumatizing for them. It'll stay with them for a long time. And beyond that, it's a question for the police, sincerely. There's really little to add to it beyond that.
With analysis, former speechwriter to Stephen Harper, Michael Taube, is here. What did you make of Thomas Mulcair's response to our questions?
Yeah, look, I mean, you have to look at it two ways, to be fair. Number one, obviously, Mr. Mulcair did not make the initial comments, so obviously he doesn't have to go there and throw himself on the mercy of the court. We certainly understand that. At the same time, it's always very easy for a political leader to say, I haven't heard the comments in question.
So you're skeptical of that?
I'm skeptical of it only simply because, for example, your network played it many times over, and surely other networks caught a hold of it. Because Mr. Godin, even though he's not necessarily a high-profile MP, is not completely unknown either. Plus,
don't they also have media monitoring services?
Well, that would just be it as well. I mean, for example, the Parliamentary Press Gallery catches network coverage of most networks. Now, I'm not saying they catch everything 24/7, but it would circulate enough that you would think that enough people would have heard it. Now, Mr. Godin, I really think, should, if nothing else, if he doesn't want to apologize, that's his business. He can do whatever he wants. It's up to his constituents to ultimately decide how they like that statement. But he should clarify. There's no question about that. The same way that Mr. Mulcair should have been, I think, more straightforward with his answer. One of the things, as I told you, when we were on the very first day it broke, and basically when you and I first talked about it, we were less than 20 minutes of anything being, had been sent out. I'd only read one very tiny news clip. I speculated something similar to Mr. Godin, but in the sense that not because of the government, it was someone maybe angry about the government. Now, I was wrong, and I was completely wrong to say it, and that's fine, but it was just speculation on my point. It was said with one news article, 20 minutes into an event. Mr. Godin had a whole day to think about this, and really, he shouldn't have brought up the specter of the Harper government and the way people may or may not think about the government. And yes, he passed, he tried to save himself by saying, I hope that's not it. I hope that's not the mistake. But the result is that, let's be frank about it, by now I think we can very safely say it was not political. Mr. Godin should clarify his remarks or just simply apologize.
Well, in fairness to you, Mr. Taube, I am going to say that I don't think you were in the wrong because, as you say, it was the early going, and that was a reasonable deduction to make. At that point,
sure,
all we knew was that a body part arrived at the party headquarters of a political party.
Sure.
When you say that Mr. Godin needs to clarify his remarks, what is it exactly that he needs to clarify then?
Sure. I think you're being nice, by the way. If I make mistakes, I admit it. And that's just the way it is. Unlike Mr. Godin, I know when I say something wrong. I don't cover my tracks.
We
I just
all
go past
make
it.
mistakes.
Sure, of course.
We all do.
You mean we're imperfect?
We are.
Really?
But
I thought it was in my contract. I'm supposed to be perfect. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, I think that's in my contract too.
Is it really?
No.
Subsection what? Go ahead.
Yeah, subsection 1. I forget where I was going, but in any case, what does he need to clarify?
Mr. Godin needs to clarify, basically. He either needs to clarify why he was trying to present that as an issue 24 hours after the fact, or he needs to clarify why he has not said anything since that time. I scoured around the internet, I scoured around the, just checking around Google and various other newspaper sites to see if maybe he had said something on top of that, because that would be fair. I can't find anything, I can't find another quote, so basically Mr. Godin has sort of left this in the public sphere and walked away from it. Much the same way that his leader basically said, well, I'm not familiar with the comments, and then just went on to say how horrible the event was.
So they're hoping this is going to go away?
I think so. I think to some extent. Now, is it a major event that's going to go on weeks after week after week? No. This thing will eventually die out. The search for Mr. Magnota continues on, but obviously Mr. Godin's comments were just that, a comment. But yes, ultimately in the end, you are responsible for everything that you say. Print is forever, and TV is forever. The comments are on the record. He should really move past these comments and at least apologize, as I said, which would be the right thing to do, or if nothing else, just say that I was bringing it up as a possibility and I was wrong about it.
Just elaborate, if you could, on what in your judgment makes the comment, the substance of the comment, so objectionable under these circumstances.
I think it's objectionable. If he had said it, let's say around the same time I did, when there were no news articles out, there was very little coverage, all we knew that a foot had been delivered to the Conservative Party. And even at that time, I don't think you and I may be wrong, I don't think we even knew what the body part was, or it had just literally come out that it was a foot. Initially, early coverage that I saw said it was a heart, actually, to begin with, and it sort of transferred into a foot. I think there was enough time for Mr. Godin not to bring in the political aspect of this, because really what has happened here, and you and I both know and everyone else knows it, that somebody has been murdered. That is what is really crucial about this. This is not a political game. This is not about politics. It doesn't matter who the government is. As I said to you when we were on, if it had been the Liberal government or an NDP government in place, I still would have been horrified. He should have been horrified. He should have kept the politics out of the personal and just basically discussed the issue, saying how tragic it is that someone's life has been taken away. There's a person either missing or on the loose who needs to be questioned, and obviously, to be clear, we don't know if Mr. Magnota did or did not do it. Right now, it's still up for debate, but he needs to present himself again, and Mr. Godin should have just left it at that and moved on.
And Mr. Mulcair, what does he need to do at this moment?
Well, I mean, he's a little luckier in the sense that he didn't make the comment. When you're not attached to the footprints, it's a little easier for you to avoid it. But I think now he's probably quite aware of the comments. I think that an intrepid reporter should ask him again about these comments and see what his response is. And this time he can't go behind the scenes and hide and say, well, I don't know about the comments. They've been out for too long. I'm sure somebody, even in just his press office, has made him aware of them. And it's time for him not to take responsibility, but to maybe allude to the point that his MP, his fellow NDP MP caucus member, was wrong in what he did.
We appreciate, as always, your insights, Michael.
My pleasure, Krista.
Michael Taube, he is a political analyst and former speechwriter to Stephen Harper, joining us live here on Canada Live.